I met my husband, Scotty Smiley, in junior high. He had moved from Idaho to Washington State, and he was the nicest boy in junior high. All the rest were so mean, but Scotty Smiley was the nicest. And I dated him my senior year of high school. He went off to the United States Military Academy, and I stayed in state and got my bachelor's in science and nursing. I didn't come from a military family. Nurses lead the way. I didn't come from a military family. I came from a farming family. No one in my family had served in the military. I didn't really know what it meant. But I knew when 9/11 happened that our lives forever changed. And after Scotty graduated from the United States Military Academy, we were married, and it was a picture of the American dream. A newly commissioned officer in the United States military, he's marrying a nurse, and my new last name was Smiley. It doesn't get much better than that, right? But that was until he received orders to deploy to Mosul, Iraq for a whole year, in some of the heaviest fighting times. And I was awoken out of bed at 3 a.m. about 8 months into his deployment. And I was excited because Scotty would call at different times, and so I jumped out of bed, excited. But this time it was someone else's voice on the other line. And he said, "Mrs. Smiley, I'm so sorry. Scotty's been hit by a suicide car bomb." He said, "One thing we know is he's never going to see again. He has no eyes. And we're not sure if he's going to survive." And he hung up the phone. And when you're a military spouse and you get that call, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You can't go see them. You can't call them. You sit and you wait. And that was the day my American dream, or my so-called thought of American dream, blew up into a million pieces. It was the first time I came to Washington, D.C. And I went all the way up to Walter Reed. And I resigned from my nursing job. And I greeted Scotty, and every day I spoke truth and hope and life into him. And I told him all the things he could be, and I believed in this vision that he could still serve if he wanted to serve. I had just walked in and told him that he would never see again, whispered it in his ear. And later that day, I was brought into a room and asked to sign the military retirement paperwork, since he was blind, to begin his military retirement. I was in a room by myself with the doctor, social worker, VA administrator. They said, "Mrs. Smiley, since you have power of attorney, please sign this. Let's get the process going." And I said no. They pushed the paperwork in front of me a little bit further and said, "Let me remind you, your husband is blind. There's never been someone to continue service blind. Sign the paperwork." And I said no. Yeah. I knew I could not walk into Scotty's room and tell him that I just signed the paperwork that retired him from the very thing that gave him purpose. So it gave us time to rebuild. It gave me time to build a team. And Scotty went on to do amazing things. He became the first blind active duty officer to continue service to our country. He wrote a book, he went to Duke, he got his MBA, he traveled, he spoke, he did everything I went in that room and told him he would do.